Hey Gun, my name's Josh Kemp, and today I'll be reading to you from my debut novel, Banjawarn. Banjawarn follows Garreth Hoyle, a semi-successful true crime writer who also has a very serious drug problem. And he heads up to Kalgoorlie under the pretense of visiting an old friend, but really he just wants to score. And he and his mate find themselves in this drug house in Cal, where Hoyle discovers a 10-year-old girl who's been locked in the toilet, a girl who calls herself Luna. And this discovery sets off some pretty uncomfortable feelings for Hoyle, things he's possibly been trying to numb himself to for most of his life. So instead of taking her to a police station or a hospital, he decides to return her to her father, who she says is up in Leonora. And so begins a sort of road trip from hell. One of my favourite things about writing this book was being able to write about the landscapes of the goldfields and the northern goldfields in WA. So the passage I'm going to read to you is from the second chapter, and I think it really showcases the nature writing and how much I enjoyed the nature writing. The stage before him is painterly, aglow with the dawning sun. The understory looks too blue, like breathing sponges, and the gimlets are a hot, fiery bronze. Too much of a glare for him first thing. Ringnecks blast from raw limbs and sing what was perhaps the death lullaby which accompanied that old-timer's stroke. Hoyle gets in behind the steering wheel and takes it easy, clopping back onto the old wood line, because he likes how the colours all change and meld in him as he goes. The light fully opens on the track, and he's forgotten all the bad stuff, dead old men and strangers trying to get at him in the night. The bronzy woods wash and tumble both sides, and he can see the bulky shadow of the Prado trying to keep pace. He gusts out of the Kangaroo Hills Timber Reserve, crossing old woodlines and haul roads no one uses anymore, and has to slam on the brakes coming around a vicious corner. The two grey figures, tight with suspicion, watch the Prado slide in the loose red sand. Hoyle bucks against his seatbelt and chuckles crazily out at the mother sheep and her lamb watching, dim-witted eyes confused by the huge shape that has ploughed to an abrupt halt. Hoyle sticks his head out the open window. "Sheep!" he bawls at them. "Sheep!" The mother holds her ground, the lamb glancing back at her for reassurance. Hoyle pops open the driver's side door like a reanimated skeleton climbing from its tomb. "Sheep, come here," he calls to them. "Just get here for a sec." Hoyle has developed a tendency to chase sheep. He likes to get a hold of the lambs and hug them close to his chest, even if they do fight and bray and kick at him, even if the mothers do charge him for it. He gets that pillowy feeling inside when he sees their sweet little faces, unsure eyes like a puppy. And while he's only managed to catch up with one or two lambs over the years, still he persists. As soon as he steps from the Prado, the scruffy sheep and her lamb turn and bolt. He keeps on, picking into the heaps of gimlets, craning this way and that through the sore-skinned trees, scuffing past pixie bushes and prickly grevilleas. He spots them again further on, the lamb leaning into her mother with fear, while the mother scans the bronze-lit woods for their pursuer, Hoyle, the big bad wolf. He continues to creep through, now out of the gimlets and in a patch of redwoods, but the mum sheep hears the bark crunch under his weight, and she takes off. The lamb so close behind her, it's like the mother has it on a lead, dragging it along. "Shit fucking," Hoyle says to himself. Decides to give up. Now he sees how far the sheep have taken off. Now they've put some distance between themselves and Hoyle. They slow to a walking pace and maunder towards some dirty facility which looks like an abandoned gold mine. Hoyle hangs back in the bronze trees and looks down at the old drainage ditch behind him. Grey mud cracked over a huge discarded Elmo toy, a child's possibly pitched from a passing car. The red puppet's watching eyes creep Hoyle out, so he turns away, realising he's not going to get to hug the lamb. When he pivots to stalk back through the redwoods the way he came, he almost can't believe what he's seeing at first. With people so close, he would have thought he would hear them, or at least they would hear him. A psychologist in the city once told him he should never use hallucinogenics. When he asked why, she said he had a lot of locked doors inside his head, doors with padlocks on them the size of clenched fists. She suggested perhaps it was best if these doors were never opened. When a hallucinogen is taken, the padlocks fall off so easily. A fast crow skiffs past overhead, but he doesn't see it. Only sees the young couple cradling the baby in their arms. The gimlets hang above them at brassy heights. A very beautiful woman and a tall man with a slightly off-kilter pose, and they're so in love they don't see the ragged spectre of Hoyle standing there. They cradle a baby in a white blanket, which must only be a few months old, with how it coos, smacks its lips together, with how its tiny fingers reach for its mother's face. Hoyle stares at the father most of all, his sun-weathered expression smoothing out with love as he peers down at the child. Hoyle frowns. The stranger's irises are the same colour as his, inexplicably familiar. And then they're gone. Hoyle blinks, thrashes around. The huge, filthy Elmo glares up at him from the bottom of the pit. He can understand seeing things after he shot PCP. After all, back at Peak Charles, he could see it all the tributaries of the land zigzagging back and rivering on for thousands of years. A padlock had certainly been unclipped, because now he was seeing things while he was sober. He turns and searches around, looking for the young couple and the baby they held between them. But he already knows it had been an illusion, something conjured by his munted brain and then cast out into vision before him. Christ's sake, is all he can say about that, before he pinches at the bridge of his nose and searches for the road back through the redwoods. Finding the sandy shoulder again, he stops to see the Prado an impossible distance away, a tiny white dot down the other end of the track. It had felt like he only chased the sheep and her lamb a few metres into the brassy woods, but now he can see he's at least a couple of k's from the car. Distance closed so easily out here, folded, furled and swam. The rawhide trees closed around him until they were all he could see. It's how people vanished. It's how people got disorientated and started to hallucinate and see shit, like a couple of strangers staring lovingly at their newborn child. With a shrug, Hoyle stuffs his hands into the pockets of his shorts, stained red with the dust, and makes his way back for the car, whistling a too high-pitched tune as he goes. Thanks for listening.